4th of July, our 248th birthday. Amazing, huh? Coming up tomorrow. It'll be a wonderful day to remember why America is so great. And if you have any thoughts and hesitation, just look around you. Consider yourself, your family, your neighbors, what this country has done historically. We're going to talk a lot about history of America over the next couple of days. So thank you for, stopping in and participating and doing all you can, because I believe there is an organic movement that's starting to happen. I think you've heard me often say that experience defines preference. And I believe the cumulative experience that we've endured over the past 2 decades, especially, is solidifying in people's minds that America is better than this and we deserve better. That if we follow the outline of our Constitution, Declaration of Independence, that we can get this country back on track. But we must realize what the standard is. The standard is our Constitution. And we were reminded this here in this past week by the Supreme Court. That is our North Star. That's what anchors us. And when we get back to that, then I believe that you will start to realize winning again, and not only winning, but that there can be a peaceful coexistence where we can talk to one another and not feel that we have to argue with one another or follow the lead of political leaders. You've heard me say in the last couple of days, especially, there's got to be something done about the political rhetoric. It is reckless. It's irresponsible. It dumps a lot of negative attitudes and emotions into the body politic. And then what do? They feed off of that. And then we become that which we have heard and which we were told. And next thing you know, we're treating everybody like our neighbor is Joe Biden or our neighbor is Donald Trump, and we just need to be vehemently against them. I mean, that's absurd. But this is what politics has done to us, and why more and more people are saying, look, and I'm not even sure I want to vote, which is shocking to me that even now when we really need everybody to vote, people are just saying, I'm just burnt out. I'm burnt out in the political process. Well, you know what? This is our process. That's what we the people represents. It's our government. It's a government of, for, and by we the people. And if we the people do not participate in said government, then it's not the consent of the governed, as our founding fathers had outlined for us and expected for us. It's the government of the surrendered, is what it turns out to be. And what's happened is we've been so overwhelmed and attacked on every end. We've had lawfare that exists. We've had a government that's come after us. Even the FBI, influencers and others, leaders in our government has said, look, we have ways, you can resist us, but we have ways to get you to conform. If you think not, look at the hundreds of J6ers that are still in jail because they wouldn't conform. I mean, these are true patriots. Or did some break the law? Possibly. We really don't know for sure. I mean, this whole thing has been so contrived, and in this latest Supreme Court decision, what these prosecutors did to these people, to patriots, everyday patriots, the way they've been mistreated. It's disgusting what they've done to so many of them. Look, if you broke the law, okay, then you're going to pay the price. And I think you need to pay the price that is in somewhat the same ratio as was charged against Antifa or Black Lives Matter. Okay. I didn't see anybody going in, from BLM or Antifa going into DC gulags. Did you? Okay. So look, at justice needs to be fair. It needs to be blind. And clearly what's happened here in the recent era is justice is being rendered with part of the blindfold lifted up, right? So they can see who they're rendering justice to and what kind of supposed justice that they're going to render to the defendant. So lots to talk about. Rick Manning, Americans for Limited Government. We'll start it off. Jenny Beth Martin and then Eric Rourke. Of course, with all that's going on, the Democrats seem to be, there's a feeding frenzy going on. There's blood in the water. And it's like a shark attack that's happening, right? So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Supreme Court decisions, and we'll talk about what's the next step for the Democrats and Nancy Pelosi. Stay tuned. It's all coming up right here on Bill Martinez Live.
I'm Phil Hotzenpella, the pastor of Influence Church in Anaheim Hills, California. I have a new book out with Charisma Publishing. The title, It's Midnight in America. You know the church is asleep and slumbering in the night.
But do not
We're on the
disturb.
doorstep of the return of Christ. Every day we see more and more signs of his return. But are you ready? My new book, It's Midnight in America, will answer the most pressing questions about biblical prophecy, the last days. The book will help you connect biblical prophecies with current events. Diminish fear, find hope, and develop an unshakable faith for the days ahead. The book is available on Amazon. Get your copy today.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Bill Martinez Live, a program about current events, our culture, our values, our politics, and our future. And now, Bill Martinez.
We better stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going on. Stop. Hey, what's that sound?
6 minutes after the top of the hour. Great to have you along with us. I'm Bill Martinez. He is Rick Manning from Americans for Limited Government. Rick, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. I'm here from a hallway in the Willard Hotel at Washington, D.C. today.
Oh,
so
okay.
Wearing a tie and everything. So,
wow, you're looking quite elegant there. That's I decided I was going to, set the stage for you and kind of, get the July 4th birthday celebration underway early.
and I have a flag tie and I completely forgot to wear it. So,
Yeah.
I guess I'll figure it out.
Well,
But,
you got tomorrow. You can make up for it. But
I can make up for it because I think on July 4th, I'm going to go to the beach and wear a tie. I think that's happening, not.
are you going to drag your Joe Biden special beach chair with you?
It's
I mean,
it's a possibility. I was going to say I'm going to avoid making a remark that I might regret.
I understand.
Might not meet FCC standards about where Joe Biden's face might be on that chair.
Yeah, that's no, I get that, and that's about as far as the inference we need to go. But speaking that, there you are in D.C., and I'd mentioned to the audience before you came on that the sharks are on a feeding frenzy. They're eating their own right now, Rick.
Yeah, it's we are in a little bit of at least unprecedented times in terms of my lifetime. Mm-hmm. This actually comes the closest thing to what we're seeing on the Democrat side is the Democrat convention in '68, when you had an incumbent president who decided once the primaries started, and he won but barely won the New Hampshire primary, he drops out. You have a scramble because he had token opposition. Scramble through the rest of the process. The front runner emerges, Robert Kennedy, and he wins California. He's suddenly the front runner, and he's murdered by a Palestinian activist, Sirhan B. Sirhan, and so you've got and so it gets all thrown upside down. They have a convention which is surrounded by a bunch of people who are anti-Vietnam War and protesters and revolutionaries and the like in Chicago. And the end of it is Richard Nixon ends up being president. So, yeah, it's that disheveled. The difference here is the Democrats, honestly, it's a self-inflicted wound for the Democrats. Mm-hmm. They knew what Joe Biden's mental health was, what his mental state was. They've hid it from the public. And now they're stuck with him as a candidate because they didn't run anybody legitimate against him. Mm-hmm. And, so they get what they get.
Yeah, this is of their own creation, no doubt about it. But, that has been the case. The Democrats seem to be perfectionists at doing that, whether it's Harry Reid releasing the nuclear filibuster bomb that he did that gave us the conservative court, and the things that, Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi. Now Nancy Pelosi, I thought it was quite interesting. You get Democratic leadership, Rick, to your point, that are taking a mother may I step back away and maybe several steps away from Joe Biden. And her comment yesterday is, she says, well, is this an episode or a condition? I mean, it's clear the writing is on the wall for Joe Biden, is it?
I think so. When you get the White House staff leaking that he only is able to work 10 a.m. to 4
Right.
p.m., 6 hour days. In a 24/7 world, he's working 6 hours maybe.
Yeah.
And, so that's one, just says he can't do the job.
Yeah.
There are
And Rick,
enough.
I like the other deal too when when they bookended that and they said he's dependably engaged from 10 to what does that mean?
Dependably engaged. It means we can depend on him to pay attention. I mean, I'm trying to, I don't know what it means because what we've seen is he can't pay attention for an hour and a half.
Right.
But it is but the fact of the matter is, this is not a surprise to anybody.
Mhm.
We've been talking about on our airwaves about,
Oh yeah.
how he's struggling both physically and mentally. It's been obvious to anybody who's been paying attention for at least 5 years, he was on a decline. And now they're eating they're eating the fruits of that, the sour
Mhm.
fruits of that, because they've put themselves in a position where they don't have a viable means to replace him, and they don't have a viable, and as a result, they're faced with some ugly choices and an ugly reality that this administration, the Democrat leadership, did not tell the truth to the American public and were willing to defy democracy. And it's just
Exactly.
they talk democracy all the time, but they were willing to defy democracy by effectively lying to the American public and saying this is a candidate who can do the job,
Mhm.
hide him in a basement, and hope that the people aren't elected, who nobody knows who's doing the work. That they can continue holding their positions of power with a figurehead at best in the Oval Office, and they've gotten caught with their hand in the cookie jar, and
Mhm.
now they're scrambling and trying to find some way out.
Well, and I think that the American people, Rick, it's kind of like I keep hearing Richard Blumenthal's statement. Remember, falso in uno, falso in omnibus, which is interesting. He, of all people, not known to be closely engaged with the truth much himself, but nonetheless, this has been an administration that has been lying from day one, not only covering for Biden, but the way COVID was handled in the latter stages, this war on inflation, what Biden did in terms of opening up the Treasury and basically stealing from the American people and burdening them with the high cost of living that we're subjected today. And they lied about it, Rick. They've lied about this whole climate agenda and the pressure, the increasing pressure and costs that they've put on the American people. At every turn, they just cannot, for whatever, they just I mean, it's one thing to be so ideologically fixed, but to be that ideologically fixed that you have to abandon all form of reason and truth, Rick. And I think this is what's biting them in the butt right now, is that they don't have one bit of truth to stand on.
Well, when your ideology is based along the concept of the end justifies the means,
Yeah.
you can justify anything to get what you want out the back end. And a simple example that doesn't deal necessarily straight with Biden, but the guy who's the chairman of the FDIC, which oversees the banking system, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, had an independent report come out talking about just gross sexual abuse and abuse of disabled employees,
Wow.
just a complete out of control agency for over 10 years. And this comes out, a couple of committee hearings, he finally says, okay, well, I'll quit as soon as somebody gets appointed to takes my place.
Mhm.
Okay, no, you don't get to choose your terms.
Exactly.
You've subjected employees to just gross violations,
Mhm.
and it's a banking regulator for all places.
Right.
So no, you don't get to do that. But the Biden administration is letting him stay because their agenda is more important than human decency. And that's what we see time and again. And it's because the end justifies the means. I think, when we think about this, it's not from a biblical perspective. There are really only two philosophies in the world. One is a philosophy that says that there is absolute truth,
Yes.
and you keep your eye on absolute truth and try to follow it as best as you can. And the other is, that what is truth? What Pontius Pilate said when
Mhm.
meeting face to face with truth. What
Yes,
is
exactly.
truth? And
Got to go
we
to break, Rick. We'll pick it up on the other side. More from Rick Manning after this. Stay with us. Hey, Bill Martinez here. Do you have a minute to talk about your financial future? I'm feeling like you are. For most of us, our economy is in trouble. So is there a solution? Good question. I have a good answer for you. Check out my friends at Genesis Gold Group. They can help you secure your financial future in these unstable times. Gold and silver are precious metals that investors have counted on for hundreds of years. All investors agree that gold should be a part of our financial portfolios. This is why I recommend that you run, not walk, to the Genesis Gold Group. In fact, you don't have to run or walk. A free informative consultation is just a toll-free call away. And you can see for yourself why investing in gold and silver can make sense in securing your financial future. So call them 844-202-4252. That's 844-202-4252, or check out the website goldwithbill.com.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to answer your questions for free. Call now and find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-745-9090. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell everyone listening who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me here. It's always nice to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now. 800-745-9090. You'll find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now. 800-745-9090.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center, may not be available in all states.
How would you like to save money on nearly all your prescription drugs? We've set up a special toll-free number for the RX Outreach Program. They're a nonprofit company whose mission it is to make prescription drugs more affordable to the masses. They don't take insurance, and in many cases, your prescriptions are even cheaper than your co-pays. They carry thousands of different prescription drugs, so whatever you're taking, there's a good chance they have it. No coupons are required, and this is not a discount card. It is pure savings on your prescription drugs. They specialize in generic meds for any chronic health needs you have. Call with your prescription and find out for free how little you can pay for your prescription drugs. Remember, we don't take insurance, so call right now.
800-705-6581. 800-705-6581. 800-705-6581. That's 800-705-6581.
This is Don Shank with today's global update from the Tide Ministry, sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ worldwide in the languages people were born to speak. Less than 1% of the people in the Balkan region are evangelical Christians. We at the Tide Ministry are pleased to announce a new partnership with Media 7 Balkan, the largest Christian radio network in the region, currently reaching over 7 million people with the gospel. The goal of this partnership is to establish more indigenous Christian TV channels and radio stations throughout the Balkan countries. These channels will air personal testimonials from local believers to inspire interested viewers to learn more about the transformative power of the gospel. The goal is for every person in the Balkan region to hear the gospel and every believer to become a mature Christian grounded in the Word of God. To learn more about how the Tide Ministry is using broadcast media to tell people about Jesus in their own language, visit thetide.org. That's thetide.org.
Hey, we're back with you just about 19 minutes after the top of the hour. Bill Martinez here. Rick Manning from Americans for Limited Government continues with us. Rick, you were talking in that instance when somebody should have been fired on the spot. But the thing that people need to understand is the federal government has its own union that protects, 750,000 employees. I mean, that is a forced surrender. I think it was quite interesting when you look back at, how unions came into the country and at one point probably represented a third of the U.S. labor force. They kind of went away because, not totally, but were reduced in the public sector or the private sector, I should say, to about maybe 10%. But what they did, they made a smart move and they started laying roots into the federal government. and that's how they were able to survive. And look at their membership. And so they're covered, as you know, they're so protected that you can't just simply fire somebody for incompetence like a Mayorkas or whoever else like him that we need to get rid of. We've got to go through this harrowing process that could take an entire cycle of a management to get rid of him.
Yeah, in this case, he is a political appointee, and Joe Biden could fire him tomorrow, and he'd have to leave. It's at will. But you're right in terms of the general workforce. There are a number of examples of federal workers who were bosses who were caught abusing employees and engaging in sexual harassment, and it took literally a year, and finally a negotiation where they get a buyout to leave, because it is virtually impossible to fire a federal employee. And so while in this particular case I mentioned, it's strictly Joe Biden's choice whether or not to fire this guy or not. It's not but in the case of the regular worker, it is, trust me, I was public affairs chief of staff at Labor Department, and I had somebody who needed to be fired, and I couldn't get it done in the time I was there, and we were still having meetings with the next administration trying to get it done for a year until finally the parties involved transferred. Exactly. They didn't lose the job; they just went somewhere else.
Right.
So that's one of the things we're trying to get fixed next administration is make it more expedited firing, so people won't do their job, can't do their job, or just refuse to do their job. So that's one of the reforms I'm hoping will happen as Donald Trump drains the swamp.
Right. Well, it's an attitude sort of thing, Rick. I mean, even though, like you say, the president himself has the ability to do this, but within the bureaucracy, it's like if you're an employee in the bureaucracy, it's like you've got the golden ticket. You can't be fired. Mediocrity reigns. An exceptional work output is really kind of discouraged because that's the union mentality. It's one size fits all, right?
Yeah, well, yes, it is. And, the fact is in the federal government, if you're just a mediocre employee, you get a cost of living increase every year. And every 2 years, you're guaranteed what's called a step increase, which is a raise, which is a real raise, not cost of living. It's a real raise. And there are 10 steps. If you start at 1, you can be up to step 10, and you're making a lot of money without actually accomplishing much. Right. And it's certainly not for merit purposes. It's just the process. So yeah, it is the golden ticket in many respects. You don't have to think about your work while you're at home. You just go in, you punch a clock, and you do as little as possible. And
well, you don't even have to punch a clock. You don't even have to go to the office. I mean, people are finally complaining, right? We got all these empty office buildings in DC because the people don't want to come back to work. And this is one of the things that Joe Biden is waving before him, saying, "Hey, Donald Trump's going to make you come back to the office." And of course, these government employees.
I'm hoping Donald Trump will make it so about 20% of them don't have to come back to the office, because he lets them all go and says your services are no longer required. But having said that, and then we sell a few buildings. But one of the things that the Supreme Court that just finished its session did in the last week of this session is they went after the administrative state.
Yeah, exactly.
And they made probably the most consequential week in terms of restoring balance of power in the government that we've seen since FDR, where we had the whole balance of power thrown out of whack. Here's what they did in a couple of cases. Number one, in 1984, a case, Chevron versus NRDC, it was found that the regulators shall be given deference in terms of whatever scientific or other decisions they make, and for the regulations. And that's known as Chevron deference. Since then, there's been around 18,000 regulations that have depended upon the regulators saying, "Trust us, we got it right," and you really don't have a shot to fight against whatever they come up with, because you have to trust that's the law. Chevron deference got blown up within the last week. It no longer exists. The court was very clear it doesn't exist. So what's going to happen now is if there's a dispute, and by the way, it's the 18,000 cases were grandfathered in, but what's going to happen now is there is if you have a dispute over whether, the science, whether a dispute over the impacts, if you have a dispute over the economic impact of a regulation, and you go to court, and you're able to go to court, and a judge will decide whether or not what the bureaucrats have decided is true, or what private sector decides is true. And it works both ways. So it's not just, conservative or liberal. It's about getting the science right, getting the regulations right. And so you get a chance to make a case, get back in front of a judge, and the judge says, I'm weighing these proofs equally. I'm weighing what the bureaucrats say and what other people say equally. And I'm looking at it, and I'm going to look at it and say which is the right direction based on the law. And that's kind of what should have been happening all along. For 40 years, it hasn't been happening.
Exactly.
So that's good. The second, which is great, actually. Second thing is the court then decided that if a company has been harmed from a regulation that was a pre-existing regulation, and they've been harmed by that regulation, they are now able to sue against that regulation due to the harm. In the past, you weren't able to sue because they said, well, the regulation's in place, you should have known better. Well, now they say, listen, your regulation is doing harm to my business. You're costing us a massive amount of money or whatever it is. So we're able to show harm, and we're able to sue the government for redress. And you might win, you might lose, but the fact is you have an opportunity to take the administrative state.
You got a remedy. Yeah, right.
Get a remedy, or at least get an outcome that says that they're either right or they're wrong. So it's another way of taking down the administrative state. And then there was a third thing where the administrative state, when you get a judgment against you, it's largely an internal process where you go to an administrative law judge within, like, the Department of Labor, who hears the case. He's an expert on labor law. Here's the case, comes up with a judgment. You got to pay it, and you can go off and you can appeal. But the fact is, you never had a shot in the appeal in most cases. So now what's happened, because of a case involving George Jarkissi, you used to have a conservative talk radio show nationwide about 8 to 10 years ago. The SEC tried to take down his business, and he fought them, and he went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, George, you're allowed to have a jury trial on this. Right. And before he wasn't allowed to have a jury trial. So now he can go in and have a decision made by a jury of his peers about whether or not the SEC overstepped its bounds or not. That's a huge change as well, because you destroy this concept of we're God, we're the prosecutor, we're the investigator, prosecutor, judge, and jury. Now there's going to be an independent judge and jury for if you're fighting with the SEC or any other agency over some kind of decision they made that affects your life, it affects your business. You think about
the cost to the individual businessman. What the cost is, and then the thing is so disgusting is the people that did all this, they're covered by the taxpayer, because if there's a judgment, we the people are going to have to pay that.
Exactly right. So now, but at the very least now, you have a court. You're able to go before a jury of your peers and get a decision, and that's seems kind of basic in the Constitution, but that's been wiped away for years and years and years. So the administrative state and the way they do things has taken a huge hit, and what that means for you and me is that they no longer are the bosses. They are now going to be regulated by both the president.
We're out of time now, Rick. Okay, Rick, thank you so much. Rick Manning.
Golf commentary continues to evolve. At the 2024 Masters, IBM will debut more new features on the Masters app and Masters.com for an even more personalized fan experience. Building on last year's AI-generated narration, IBM has incorporated more generative AI capabilities thanks to Watson X, with large language models taught to understand and speak Spanish, not simply translate the English narration, to deliver the most authentic audio and closed captioning experiences to Spanish-speaking fans. IBM is also bringing shot-by-shot hole insights to the Masters digital platforms, providing detailed breakdowns of current and historical play at any given course hole. This includes real-time data of how a hole has been played during the tournament, projections based on data, and historical analysis based on more than 170,000 shots and ball positions on the course. Paired with the Track Shots feature, Hole Insights enables fans with the ability to receive insights based on live tournament shots for the first time. To see IBM's technology in action, visit Masters.com or the Masters app on your mobile device. Sponsored by IBM.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control of your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problem now by calling the experts at U.S. Tax Shield and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, so call now. 800-536-4436. That's 800-536-4436. U.S. Tax Shield. 800-536-4436.
If you're 65 or older and Medicare is your main source of insurance, pay close attention right now and listen for details on how you may save thousands of dollars on your health care costs. Did you know that Medicare can pay for things like dental visits, home delivery of drugs, even a gym membership? Call us right now and learn how to unlock all your Medicare benefits. Medicare and supplemental plans that we provide can even offer you drug coverage with zero copays and pay for transportation to your doctors. Medicare plans can offer you wonderful money-saving benefits, but you've got to call now. We'll help you get the most out of your Medicare. Make this free, no-obligation call now. Save a ton of money on your health care costs and get the code to unlock all your earned Medicare benefits. Paid for by Senior Choice Plans. 800-796-3954. 800-796-3954. That's 800-796-3954.
Hey, we're back with you 28 minutes before the top of the hour. With us right now, Jenny Beth Martin from the Tea Party Patriots Action. Good morning, Jenny Beth. Happy 4th of July early to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Bill. Good morning and happy Independence Day to you as well and to your audience.
Well, thank you so much. The Democrats have been, spinning this thing around about, the threat to democracy. Well, democracy lives on morality. Its backbone is the truth. And when you abandon both of those, that is the death nail to democracy. And the demonstration of lying that has taken place. I mean, to hear the Democrats, it's that old saying, methinks you complain too much. They're quick to talk and cite these alleged lies, supposedly that Trump has said, when there's a couple of dozen lies, blatant lies, that Joe Biden says that somehow they just write off as because he's feeble, he's some old guy, and maybe he's not paying attention, or he had a cold, or some other excuse that they come up with. But from the start of this administration, it has been birthed in lies, and it continues to, because it's so ideologically fixed. I mean, here they are. They find themselves in a position because they've been lying so much that they're shocked. They are shocked that the American people are finally waking up and realizing that they have covered for Joe Biden all this time, and they don't have a whole lot to say, right?
That's right. There's a lot to unpack right there, Bill. You're correct about the lies, what happened during the debate, and democracy, and how democracy can actually survive. Biden did lie during the debate. The Democrats, I watched CNN and MSNBC last Friday and throughout the weekend, and the thing that they just kept saying about what Trump was, he's a lying liar. And then they would go into Biden. They didn't really name anything he was lying about, just he's a liar. And then they'd go into to Biden. Well, Biden wasn't being truthful either. And we can look at, I find personally the most offensive thing that he was lying about is that no American soldier died under his watch, considering the botched withdrawal in Afghanistan and the death of American military service members. But he's been lying, and the Democrat Party have been lying to the American people throughout the entirety of his presidency. He is not capable of being president right now. And now there are members of Congress who, it's being reported on the top of Drudge today, that they're going, who is actually running the country? Oh yeah, who is running the country? You should know this. It's your party.
Exactly.
You probably were invited to the White House more with Trump than you were with Biden, and that should alarm you if you're a member of Congress. But it's more than that. These people in the Democrat Party, they're the ones to protect democracy. They keep having all this polling about which party is better to protect democracy. The Washington Post has their tagline, "Democracy dies in darkness." You media allowed all of these things about Biden's incompetence and inability to do his job, not just incompetence at the job, but his physical inability to do the job. You didn't ask the tough questions. You went along with the cheap fake narrative. You sit there and repeat his lines no matter what they are, like a bunch of sycophant lapdogs. If democracy dies in darkness, you're the ones providing the shade and the darkness and the cover. And then furthermore, these people say in the Democratic Party that they care about democracy. No, give me a break. You don't care about democracy. If you cared about democracy, you would not have unelected, unnamed people running the White House in the world right now without knowing who they are. You would not have allowed no primary to happen. You would have let Biden be up against any primary challenger, so confident of his record that it wouldn't matter, that your party would still pick him as the nominee. And they've complained about the Supreme Court ruling last week that took down Chevron, and they're like, oh no, the experts can't decide. Hey, guess what? If you care about democracy, you should want elected people making decisions and determining the law, not some unnamed bureaucratic expert. They don't care about democracy. If you care about democracy, vote Republican. If you want to protect democracy, vote Republican. Vote the Democrats out.
Yeah, this whole issue about Donald Trump's lie, I just want to bring it out into the light once and for all, if that could even be possible. It's all over a dispute of who actually won the 2020 election. And one of the things I'm keep waiting for Trump or somebody in his circle to really echo out there is that today the majority of Americans, Jenny Beth, the majority of Americans question the 2020 election. If you've got a majority of Americans questioning the results of the 2020 election and Donald Trump says as much, how is that a lie?
It isn't a lie, and you are allowed, and you are legally allowed and entitled to question the results of an election. And if you are a candidate, you actually have special rights to allow you to question the results and legal rights. And the courts did not allow those cases to go forward. And that is a shame, and that is a travesty. You know, after the 2000 election, people had questions about the 2000 election, and the media was allowed to go in and recount every single ballot in Florida. And they were able to affirm that Bush actually did indeed win the votes in Florida. That has not happened in this case. The media, the public, the candidates themselves, no one has been able to go in and look at every single ballot and prove that Biden indeed won the states that we're supposed to believe that he won. But here is the most important thing. There is no debate, no dispute. Biden is the president of the United States. He put his hand on the Bible. He swore the oath. He was inaugurated. And when they asked Trump, are you going to make sure that there's a peaceful transition? Yeah, the answer is yes. And you know how the answer is yes? We watched him already do it. Biden is the president. So even that is a lie on the part of the media, making it seem like Trump wouldn't allow that. He did allow that. He walked away. He left.
Well, if they were so confident in the results, why do they keep bringing it up, Jenny Beth? Think about that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And then they bring it up and they'll say things like, well, there isn't any evidence to prove blah, blah, blah. Have you looked for the evidence? Because we know for certain you were ignoring the evidence that was right in front of your face about the problems that Biden has been having and his inability to function because he's got something extremely wrong with his health at this point. So why should we believe you actually are looking for any evidence anywhere else? It's the media's job to question those kind of things. It helps with a representative democracy when the media does that. We may not like it when we're getting the questions, but it helps. But when the questions only go to one side and they don't go to the other, and you're not probing both sides, you're not being fair. You're being partisan hacks.
Exactly. Well, the knives were out at the press briefing yesterday, if you noticed, and I was surprised, frankly, that Karine Jean-Pierre, she tried to, I guess, just accept, the question. She knew that she was going to be in for a battle, but up to this point, she's been able to control the reporters and kind of keep a thumb on them. But the knives came out, and to your point, because they've been so oppressed and suppressed all this time, it came at her like a fire hose, right?
That is exactly right, and that's how it oftentimes should be, and it's certainly how Trump's press people had to answer questions from the media. But this administration has it's been like a walk in the park for them when they walk into the briefing room. It's such a happy-go-lucky, let's hold hands and put flowers in our head kind of moment, unless it's Peter Doocy.
Yes.
It's time for, if you think democracy dies in darkness, Washington Post, which is practically failing right now, then go look in the mirror as to why it's happening.
Well, the points have come out. Democratic leadership itself is calling it out. Nancy Pelosi, I thought her statement yesterday, boy, it echoed loudly through the hallways there. She goes, is this an episode or a condition?
And that's what they're going to have to decide. But either way, it's not good for the country, and the blame is at the Democrats' feet.
Tea Party Patriots Action founder president Jenny Beth Martin. Where do they go for more information? Got 5 seconds.
TeaPartyPatriots.org. TeaPartyPatriots.org.
Thank you, Jenny Beth. Happy 4th.
Thank you. You too.
Find what you love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. All kinds of beers and thousands of wines. Guides in the know and prices so low. It just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
Only at Total Wine and More. Drink responsibly. B21.
Summer. What's not to love? Well, maybe not the scorching temperatures. Every day can't be 75 degrees with a breeze. So I went to Kohl's and stocked up on looks that'll keep me and my husband cool all season long. I got 20% off already great prices on linen dresses, cute jumpsuits, and comfy polos. Plus, I saved $15 because I spent over $75. And I earned Kohl's cash. So bring on the summer heat. We're ready to weather it in style. All thanks to Kohl's. Select styles. Offers end July 7th. Some exclusions apply. See store or kohls.com for details.
My son loves to fly kites, but my active psoriatic arthritis can sometimes hold me back. Now with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, I'm ready to go. Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults, helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi today and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right. For about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back. But you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now. 800-699-0358. 800-699-0358. 800-699-0358. That's 800-699-0358.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you could donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It will be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car, and as a special thank you for calling, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to many exciting locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now, 1-800-785-9618. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher. Call now, 1-800-785-9618. That's 1-800-785-9618.
Hey, glad you could join us. 14 minutes before the top of the hour. It is the day before our 248th birthday here in America. Happy 4th of July early on the 3rd of July. Why not? Let freedom ring here, huh? Well, Eric Rourke is going to be with us. He's the Director of Research and Public Relations with Numbers USA. In fact, let's bring him on right now. Eric, good morning to you. Happy 4th of July early. How are you?
Good morning. Happy 4th.
Hey, I'll tell you, it seems that the administrative state is getting their wings cut, and rightfully so. We've got an appeals court here that ruled that Meta, the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, must face a proposed class action lawsuit alleging the company favors hiring cheaper foreign workers over American workers. Tell us about this.
Well, that is a big decision. Previously, the lawsuit had been thrown out by the court. And a lot of times, unfortunately, U.S. citizens don't have standing when it comes to immigration policy. So immigrants will have standing, courts have found. In the past, a lot of times, U.S. citizens were bringing, in this case, it was unfair hiring practices, that they prefer foreign workers over U.S.-born workers, H-1B specifically.
Right.
And we've known this for a long time. Of course, Meta, Facebook has preferred H-1Bs because they can pay them less. So this would allow a U.S. citizen to sue Meta for favoring, discriminating against U.S. workers. So we'll see how this proceeds, but it's an important ruling, and it does set up a split. So with the circuits, there's two different decisions in two different circuits. So this will probably go to the Supreme Court, and hopefully that they'll uphold the standing for the U.S. citizen, and U.S. citizens should be able to have standing in court to fight unfair immigration practices. And the thing, hiring H-1B is not illegal, even if there's a qualified American worker. But what this lawsuit is saying is that Meta was systematically discriminated against U.S. citizens in how it hired H-1Bs.
Just on its foundation, Eric, I mean, this seems so wrong. I mean, here is an American company. I mean, Zuckerberg and his team would not be where they are but for America. And this is their gratitude for all that America has given them, that they would short sheet Americans and tilt the tables. I mean, see, this is what gives corporate America a bad name, because what happens is, like, greed, when greed gets ahead of common sense and that which is fair and right, that's a bad stain on this company.
We hear the argument all the time from tech companies in Silicon Valley that if we don't have easy access to foreign workers, then we'll have to offshore our business, we'll have to move overseas.
Mm-hmm.
Where are they going to move to? They're not moving to India or China or any other place because of the economic system and legal system that's in the United States of America, which favors them. And
Right.
if they're going to benefit from those systems, they should have the common decency to hire American workers.
Exactly.
And Congress, unfortunately, set up a system which allows them to legally deny jobs to Americans through the H-1B. There's also OPT and other programs.
Mm-hmm. Well, you see, this is where this has all gotten out of hand, is that they've been given an incredible amount of concessions over time. And, Congress needs to exercise some intestinal fortitude. But like everything, you just follow the money, Eric. I mean, these social media platforms wield a big stick and big checks, and they are the donor class that reelect these politicians. And we're subjected to that because of the monstrosity of these organizations and the amount of money that they give to our politicians. Basically, they're selling us out.
That's exactly right. They write big checks and Congress cashes them, members of Congress, and they give the policies that Silicon Valley CEOs want. We saw this last week with guest worker visas for ag H2A, sorry, and H2B, which are one's ag, one's non-ag. Now they ended up pulling that out of the House bill because of we were directing calls into the switchboard.
Right.
But the reason isn't because they came to their senses, is that people were upset. And when we're talking about the H-1B, the skilled visa, it's not that many of them Indians, also Chinese people coming in on these visas. It's not that they lack skills. It's just they're not the best and the brightest, is what we always hear about these visas. And there's perfectly qualified and capable Americans who can do these jobs in any level, or many cases, they're entry-level jobs. So recent grads need these jobs. And there's rampant age discrimination in Silicon Valley. And so it's not that we don't have Americans who can do these jobs. It's just they prefer to hire foreign workers and pay them less. And if you have an H-1B visa, you're tied to that employer. So you can't go across the street and work for your competitor or the employer's competitor.
Well, Eric, this is really a double-edged sword, because what people don't realize, to your point here, there was a story last week that came out. This gal is, she's here on an HB1 visa. She replaces an American worker that's making 120 a year. She gets paid 80 a year, and sends something like 50 or 60,000 of that paycheck back home to India. So we lose that money that should be invested here in America. It goes back to India, so we lose that. And now you've got somebody living in America. I mean, on 30,000, she can't live, very well, as you know. I mean, that's
Right.
I mean, especially the cost of living being what it is under Biden's America right now. But they're finding ways. They're living with others and doing whatever they can. But the fact of the matter is that here you've replaced an American citizen for what, 30-40% less, and then much of that money, even 50% of that money at least, is going back to the country. It's not even being spent here in the country that hired her.
And we've seen reports, we usually think of mistreatment of foreign workers being in sweatshops or, ag or in, meat packing, but it happens at the highest level in Silicon Valley. And we see, stories about people living out of their cars because they can't afford rent. And, only a third of U.S. STEM grads are working in tech fields. And so when we look at the numbers, most of them are employed because they have college loans to pay back, but they're underemployed because they're not working in the fields in which they have a degree. And that's largely due to the fact that we're bringing in so many workers from abroad. And, and they have a lot of college debt, and they're not able to not only pay off that debt, but buy houses, start, families, things like that.
Well, they're not having children. The bedrock of our society is all compromised because because of this greed and these policies that have come in. It's impacted our country, and I think in ways that it may take us generations to overcome here. Eric, what do you think?
Well, it will, particularly when we're looking at the border, but it's not. We've had a systematic problem in the legal system. In Numbers USA, we've always made that argument.
Mhm.
Right now, it's hard to talk about having a functioning immigration system where we don't have the rule of law. And so that's what we need to stop that flow.
Right.
But we also have to look at the legal side and say, how does this affect Americans? And how do we have an immigration system that functions for the benefit of the American people?
Mhm.
And I don't think many people in Congress, unfortunately, view the immigration system that way. It's what are our lobbyists and donors telling us they need, as
Mhm.
opposed to what's in the best interest for the American people.
Well, like you said, they're blinded by the money and by that check coming from the donor class that's dictating, policy right now. And we, the people, I mean, forget it. I mean, I think Numbers USA reported last week when we broke down the employment numbers, the job numbers, for example, we discovered that most of those jobs were going to a majority of those jobs were going to non-citizens.
That's right. American workers are losing ground, and that's really Bidenomics. If you want to, that's
Right.
most of the jobs are going to foreign born, including many people who are coming illegally because there's no worksite enforcement. In some cases, the Biden administration is giving work permits to inadmissible aliens, but if they don't get work permits, they're not doing any worksite enforcement. And so, if you're here illegally, you can work with impunity.
That's right. Right. Well, what they're going to do is the same thing that happened under the Obama administration. You're going to have that black market labor force, the people that work under the table. They don't pay income tax. They just got all these side hustles doing, and it's a cash and carry employee type business. And, I think at the time it was estimated somewhere between 8 and 10 million Americans were working under the table. That is not good, for this country on many levels, because even, when people pause, and I understand it, people are doing it to survive. And right now, people are very desperate and doing everything they can to even just keep their head above water. I respect that. But these are policies that have forced these people in this condition. And along the way, there are sociological and moral implications when people feel like they're gaming the system. They don't want to do that way. They don't want to be unfair, but they're forced to be operating in the shadows in order to provide for their family.
That's right. And, Numbers USA, we have a perspective on what we think the best immigration policy should be, but we need to have a genuine debate about that. If people have disagreements with us, obviously, but right now we don't have a functioning immigration system because as I mentioned before, the rule of law is out the window. And so when we talk about what the best policy is, we have to ensure that whatever policy we put in place, that we enforce those laws and that we don't allow people to come in and, as you said, take advantage of the system.
Well, HR 2 was passed, early on in the Biden administration, and that has been sitting on, on the desk of Chuck Schumer. He's not about to bring it up, but that went a long way in terms of solving the problems we're dealing with right now. But it's clear that they don't, and yet they want to try to rebuff it and try to bring up the Langston bill, which was a terrible bill. This would have been a major problem, but we'll see what happens when this country comes under new management. Eric Rourke, thank you so much for being with us. Appreciate it. He's the Director of Research and Public Relations with Numbers USA.
BBS Radio TV. We've connected the world.
See you,
We're like a makeover show for your brain. Warning. May cause an addiction to witty banter and ability to stop snacking and spontaneous outbreaks of interpretive dance. Consult your friends before use, as they may become equally obsessed. Use responsibly or don't. We're not your mom. Use responsibly or don't. We're your mama.
Well, hello there. Check this out. You're listening to BBS Radio TV. That's right. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Guess what? It's the best station you've ever heard of. Now, I'm not just saying that because I'm me, huh? I'm saying that because it's the truth. Other radio programs ain't got nothing on us, huh? I'm putting BBS Radio TVs on all your stations. That's right.
Has your heater or air conditioner busted? Appliance broken? Computer crashed? Then you need an ARW home warranty. Home system and appliance repairs and replacements can cause stress and cost you thousands of dollars per year. With an A-plus BBB rating and a top-rated home warranty company on Consumer Affairs and Trustpilot, ARW Home provides superior service, featuring the industry's lowest service call fee. ARW Home has warranty plans that cover your kitchen and laundry appliances, heating and air conditioning systems, electrical and plumbing systems, and much more. Call 800-559-7562 to customize your plan. Plus, ARW has partnered with Azurian to protect your new and used tablets, laptops, TVs, and other home tech from accidental damage and wear and tear. All plans come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call 800-559-7562. That's 800-559-7562.
BBS Radio TV. If it's not mainstream, it's on BBS Radio TV. A place for answers.
Good morning, America. Happy 4th of July, a day early. Getting in the mood and getting all excited about enjoying our birthday celebration, our 248th birthday. Imagine, huh? And what a rich history we have enjoyed in this country, though there are some that would want to, tell us a different narrative. But we know better. And what's happening right now, and I'm greatly encouraged where we are right now as a country, is that, many times we have gone through battles. It's been peaks and valleys. It hasn't been all just one hunky-dory type of journey these 248 years. It's been a battle. Freedom is not free. You've got to fight for it. You have to defend it. This is what we've realized in 240 years of history. But when you think about the America that we have, what other country compares to how our country has been blessed? Ronald Reagan says that should we forget that we are a nation under God, should we forget that we would be a nation gone under? And I think that we've come close enough to that precipice that many patriots are realizing, hey, we have got to warrior up in a way. And I know some on the left, when they hear that, that's a dog whistle for, violence and that sort of thing. No, it's a dog whistle for time to protect that which we cherish. And we cherish this constitutional republic. And we've got to get away from this political rhetoric. I've been saying, this past week that the irresponsibility of those in leadership and politicians for the sake of their emotional positions and the rhetoric that they put out there, the poison that they're putting into the bloodstream, the words that are used that are influencing people and influencing and stopping conversations. It's most difficult to sit down and reason with somebody of a differing viewpoint because I guess the terms of engagement have been so exampled by our leadership, by our political leadership. It's like people now are checking out and saying, I don't want anything to do with politics. I get that. It's ugly, but by abandoning, the political process and checking out, that's not going to help. It's only going to make it worse. We need you. We need everybody. We need the cumulative intelligence of 340 million Americans. This is a participative government. We the people, a government of, for, by we the people. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Wow. I mean, you talk about, golden pillars there. There it is right before us. But are we going to cherish it? Or are we going to just let it go to these antithetical forces because they've been able to come at us and exercise, lawfare and, throw people in jail in such unrighteous sort of terms? We're better than this and we can do better. But we need you. We need everybody involved in the process. And I appreciate your disdain for, politics as it stands right now. It stinks to high heaven. But if we're ever going to get back on the right track, we need you. We need everybody, all hands on deck in order to right the ship. So my hope and prayer is that you do not disengage, but that you do engage and you participate and be one of us who are doing some heavy lifting right now in order to get this country back on track. Eric Beer is going to be joining us, the former Marine Lieutenant Colonel, great author too, on top of that. His book, Ghosts of Baghdad, which is a true story that chronicles the Marine attack helicopter pilots' authentic and compelling firsthand account of the opening days and nights of the Iraq War. Charlotte Burrows will follow up after that. She is the chair of the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. We're talking about the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, and she breaks down some details there. And then we'll wrap things up with John Vecchione. John is with the NCLA, and in the landmark victory for civil liberties. The NCLA was very instrumental in keeping the pressure on the Supreme Court to overturn the Chevron deference. The U.S. Supreme Court, as you know, decided 6-3 to overturn this 1984 Chevron versus Natural Resources Defense Council case. And it's a big win for the Constitution and for us, we the people.
Do you have Medicare and do you use a CPAP machine? This is a national healthcare alert regarding your CPAP supplies. Using a clean CPAP mask and clean supplies is important to staying healthy. The best way to make sure your CPAP equipment is clean is to get new supplies. If you have Medicare, we have great news. Medicare will pay for you to have new clean supplies every 90 days. We'll even do all the paperwork for you to make sure that there's little to no out-of-pocket cost to you. And you don't even have to leave your home. We provide free in-home delivery. So if you're a CPAP user and you have Medicare, staying healthy with new CPAP equipment is easy. Just make this free phone call right now to get started.
Sponsored by Specialty Medical. 800-254-1421. 800-254-1421. 800-254-1421. That's 800-254-1421.
Getting America back on track. Bill Martinez live.
Well, we're counting on you to join in and help us out. Being of one mind. This is not about a Democratic Party or Republican Party or Independent Party. It's about a we the people. It's an American Party movement. In order for us to get this country back on track. And, this is our opportunity. I think our eyes are opening up and realizing, what's been happening with our government and how we, the people, have, in a sense, we've checked out and we've handed over the responsibility of our government to people that we thought we could trust. But we're realizing as our eyes are being opened that we really can't trust them. I mean, you think about how our freedoms have been curtailed just even in the last 24 years, starting with what happened after 9/11. Are you freer now than you were before even 24 years ago? And then after COVID, again, it seems like more and more of our liberties are slip sliding away, as Paul Simon would say. And, and it's our fault. Because this is a government of, for, by, we the people. It's the consent of the governed. And it's so important. This is why our elections that we have every 2 years, and particularly every 4 years, especially because it involves the president in the Oval Office. Again, I think we underestimate how significant the leader of this country is, not only for our country, but the world. I mean, think about it. Think about what's happening. I mean, things are going on right now that seem so insane, through our country. I've mentioned to you before, the lack of leadership in the Oval Office, it goes down line at universities. We've got university presidents that are, wow. I mean, some of the policies that they've come up with, it's just insane. But, as we've been reporting, all this is being influenced by a donor class that is not interested. And they're not vested in America like you and I are. But we have to find a way to take control back and make it a government of, for, by, we the people, not of the donor class. I mean, because think about it. It is a small minority of people in the donor class that are making decisions, policy decisions that are affecting us and our family, that have us where we are right now, where, just in a general sense, our cost of living has gone up at least 20%. Gasoline maybe up 40, 50%. I get it, different incremental increases, but overall, you're looking at a 20% increase. I don't know of very many people who have received a 20% increase, except if you happen to be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company that has benefited greatly from the policies that Joe Biden has thrust upon our country. So some people have done very, very well. Joe Biden been very good for some people, especially migrants who have come here into our country illegally. And it's disheartening. And I don't blame people for being disheartened. But we're better than this, and we deserve better. But it requires the cumulative influence and power force of our constituency, the entirety of the population of America, legal citizens. The illegal citizens, I don't look to them to be much responsible, for many reasons. First of all, they really don't. They only understand, the government at a distance. What's happening in America at a distance. They don't understand America, like we do. They don't have skin in the game. Plus, on top of that, they're in a situation where, they have sold their souls, to the cartels. And I keep reminding people of this, and they seem to somehow not understand that, people coming into the country have already given up their allegiance to an outside entity that is an enemy of America and America's people. The people that are promoting sex trafficking, fentanyl, a business arrangement with the Chinese that is dumping illegal drugs into our country that last year is responsible for killing anywhere between 80 to 100,000, mostly of our young people. Okay. Think about that. The future of our country is being compromised and being murdered, by outside agencies. This is the future of our country. Young people dying. It's just heartbreaking. You think, here, another death from an overdose, and how old were they? They're in their 20s, early 30s. Time and time again. You cannot sustain, the hope and future of this country if you're killing off your young people like this. But these are these agents who have coming and invading our country that are doing this to us. And ladies and gentlemen, your eyes are not lying to you. This isn't, what some are classifying as cheap fakes. This is reality. This is what's happening. Migrants all over the country, every state now, governors are saying every state of the union is a border state. That's the reality. It's what we're dealing with. And it's all brought to you by, yes, Joe Biden, but I say Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. Just like they've hidden Joe Biden, they've hidden all things that have been nefarious related to this administration, related to their policies. And the only thing that they've got to say is, oh, let's tell you about how evil Donald Trump is, how much he lies. And as I was saying with Jenny Beth Martin, he lies because, like the majority of Americans, we question the results of an election. What's wrong with that? We spent all kinds of money, millions of dollars on the January 6th faux committee look-see. And what did we get out of that? It's absurd. We really didn't get any, true conclusion of what was happening. It was like the Warren Commission. It's okay, we got a story we have to tell. So let's validate this story and spend the people's money to kind of lie to them. It's not worth the paper it's written on. But instead of putting money into helping us understand, when you've got a majority of the people going, I don't know, I don't know if it was a free or fair election. I have my doubts. Really? That's the American way of life, that we're going to continue to live on not so solid ground. I mean, this is a democracy. A democracy demands that it be set in stone, and that we know that we know. And that's not to say that there isn't, no matter what, there isn't going to be a percentage of people that still have their doubts. I mean, Stacey Abrams has had her doubts, for, I don't know what, going on 8 years now. So, that happens. It's okay. I mean, you have a right to your opinion. It's not, it's not that big, shouldn't be that big of a offense. But when you have something like this on a federal election, and you have so many people doubting the outcome and the results of it, what you just tell people, well, you're a liar, shut up, you can't participate in this. Well, forgive me. I mean, this is what you've shown me. You haven't demonstrated to me. You haven't given me proof that it was. And whenever we suggest something to give us some sense of security, you want to ignore it and say, oh, no, voter IDs are impossible because Black people and minorities, they're too stupid. They don't even know how to get an ID. Imagine, but they do get IDs to get other things. Go figure. Got to go to break. We've got more coming up after this. Stay with us.
Say goodbye to pain, fatigue, and aging woes with Greska's Carbon 60. For more than a decade, Greska's Carbon 60 has been the go-to supplement to eliminate free radicals and toxins, improving overall health and mental clarity. Developed by a carbon engineer to provide the most bioavailable Carbon 60, Greska's food-grade dietary supplement provides the best value and natural relief from inflammation and pain. Discover the secret to a healthier life with Greska's Carbon 60. Greska's Carbon 60 is your solution for pain, inflammation, and fatigue. Greska's Carbon 60. Call anytime, 720-660-40, 720-660-40, or visit c-60.com. That's the letter c-60.com, c-60.com.
I'm Dr. Sandra Fay, President of the American Veterinary Medical Association, with tips to help keep your pets safe outdoors this summer. Sunny days are perfect for outdoor playtime. Just make sure to avoid the hottest hours and have access to shade and fresh water. On really hot days, keep outdoor activities brief. Take plenty of cooling indoor breaks and watch for signs of overheating, like excessive panting or lethargy. When exploring outdoors, it's important to watch your pets closely and keep them leashed to limit their ability to get into things they shouldn't. If you notice vomiting, diarrhea, weakness, or trouble breathing, contact your veterinarian right away. And summer backyard parties are fun, but keep your pets away from potentially toxic foods and drinks to avoid an unplanned trip to the vet. Highly fatty foods and things like chocolate, grapes, onions, and alcohol can make pets very ill. For more on keeping pets safe, visit avma.org.
How would you like to save money on nearly all your prescription drugs? We've set up a special toll-free number for the RX Outreach Program. They're a nonprofit company whose mission it is to make prescription drugs more affordable to the masses. They don't take insurance, and in many cases, your prescriptions are even cheaper than your co-pays. They carry thousands of different prescription drugs, so whatever you're taking, there's a good chance they have it. No coupons are required, and this is not a discount card. It is pure savings on your prescription drugs. They specialize in generic meds for any chronic health needs you have. Call with your prescription and find out for free how little you can pay for your prescription drugs. Remember, we don't take insurance, so call right now.
800-705-6581. 800-705-6581. 800-705-6581. That's 800-705-6581.
I'm Phil Hotzentona, the pastor of Influence Church in Anaheim Hills, California. I have a new book out with Charisma Publishing. The title, It's Midnight in America. You know the church is asleep and slumbering in the night. We're on the doorstep of the return of Christ. Every day we see more and more signs of his return. But are you ready? My new book, It's Midnight in America, will answer the most pressing questions about biblical prophecy, the last days. The book will help you connect biblical prophecies with current events, diminish fear, find hope, and develop an unshakable faith for the days ahead. The book is available on Amazon. Get your copy today.
Hey, great to have you with us, fresh and independent. That's the way we are here at Bill Martinez Live, Monday through Friday. That would be 9 to 11 Eastern, 6 to 8 Pacific time. 19 minutes after the top of the hour right now, we welcome Eric Buer, the former Marine Lieutenant Colonel who has flown dozens of attack helicopter missions across the Middle East hotspots. He's also the author of The Ghost of Baghdad. It's a true story that chronicles the Marine attack helicopter pilot's authentic and compelling firsthand account. Let me tell you, it is not only a page turner, it is a page burner. I mean, you cannot put that down. Eric, Semper Fi, good to have you with us. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Hey, thanks for having me. It's always good to have an opportunity to talk with you.
Well, let me start out. First of all, happy birthday to our country. Our 248th birthday officially tomorrow. But here on Bill Martinez, we like to celebrate things early whenever we can, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. 4th of July is always amazing for us. I live in a very patriotic town, so it's an opportunity for us to celebrate and respect the heritage and culture and future, really, of the nation.
Well, and here we are. I mean, we've been, for the last decade at least, there's been a question of whether or not America could survive. But I think there's some very positive signs, Colonel, that are telling us that America is going to be okay, God willing. That I guess our eyes are opening up to truth and reason and some reality. And we're starting to, I think, reconnect with, if I might say, our North Star, that point that's so critical that brings us back to center, to where we can be most effective. Am I seeing this as you are, or am I delusional?
No, I think you're right. I think we all held our collective breaths for a while there. We went through a lot of really political, social, certainly some economic turmoil, but I think the base of Americans understand that, if we stay we're fiercely independent, aggressively opportunistic people in a culture. And if we know what's right, we know what's wrong at our heart. And I think it just took a while for us to understand that. It's difficult when we see it at the highest levels of leadership, whether it's in our foreign policy, as we look at, across the globe. We also realize through these incredible alliances we have, we don't have to go it alone, right? We have alliances and allies that understand what we're trying to do, that are like-minded democracies, and it's what's so critical about our future.
But what you talk about leadership is critical. And my eyes, I got to tell you, Eric, particularly in this last year, I mean, I've always been sensitive to it, but I really never quite looked at it. And I can say maybe this is one thing that the Joe Biden administration has done, at least for me personally, is to evaluate and understand how critical it is, for whoever it is that's sitting in the White House, that what leadership representation that comes out, because you look at some of the dysfunction that's been on display here in our country, socially, at universities, things around the world, and you see where leadership has failed, and it starts at the top and goes down, as you know.
You're absolutely right. It is. I mean, we always look within whether it's my military setting or it's in a business setting, it's in a civic setting. Leadership is fundamental. It's critical for us. We need to have people that set standards, expectations. We have to have really strict adherence to standards, whether it's law, whether it's just common practices. And we see from the president in this current administration that we've really had an opportunity to show ourselves as more than a bit wishy-washy, right? So it's one of these critical alliances for us are so important. We have an opportunity to lead not just domestically but globally, and do that in a way that brings a sense of commitment and trust in Americans.
One of the things that comes to focus every year at this time is we look at the military. Eric, you served at the Pentagon for the Joint Chiefs of Staff. You're an associate professor at the National War College. What is the state of the union of our military today as you see it?
So it does get a lot of, recently we've had there's been a focus on not making recruiting goals, or there's some DEI that's embedded in a woke military. I don't see that. I was in DC all last week, had a chance to talk to some pretty senior leaders. They are exceptionally well trained, well equipped. It's what you talked about in your opening statements about understanding kind of a North Star. The military doesn't veer too far from that. Again, I live in a great city. It's very pro-military, and there's a lot of military bases in the area. And you see young men and women walking the streets every day, and I talk to them, whether I'm doing speaking engagements or just seeing them on the street. These people are as smart, as agile, as committed, as patriotic as anyone, as any generation. So it's refreshing for me to have an opportunity to talk to them. So I see that as very positive and part of a very positive future.
Well, they had a focus group, after the debate that had taken place this week. And one of the fathers said that he was hesitating and encouraging his son to enter the military because of our current commander in chief. And I thought that was a fair concern by that individual.
It's an opinion. I think it's a valid opinion from a lens he's probably seen the president speak at. But I think also we've seen very recently in the last really several weeks is a reestablishing of the triad that makes up the powers of this country, right? Executive branch stay where it's supposed to be, judicial branch stay in this lane, executive branch stay in this lane. So it's really important that we understand that, right? And those lanes, those things often have been mixed in these last several years, particularly the last 4 years, where there's been a lot of overreach. So, president is our commander in chief, but we have to understand that young man or woman who's joining the military, he's going to be served by generations of leadership and a lot of leaders that really care about them beyond the political scope. And most of them understand that they have to be apolitical, and their job is to look after those young Marines, sailors, soldiers, airmen.
Well, Colonel, I appreciate you sharing this with us because this is something that we need to hear more of because when things get all immersed and blended up in the political filtering, we get maybe in some cases an unfair representation. Maybe there might be some fair point in argument to it. I mean, especially when you have a four-star general claiming some sort of accomplishment because we have one of the most diverse militaries, and you sit there and go, wait a minute, I don't care about diverse military. I want a prepared military. I want a military that's ready to do their job, right?
Absolutely. That's their job, is to ensure they can recruit and train, equip those young men and women. But also, I think those are fading fads, and some even military senior officers unfortunately hang their hat on the politics of the day. And that doesn't leave them in a good standing with history. It doesn't leave them in a good standing with the American people. And so you look at some services that struggle with recruiting, it's an all military, it's an all volunteer force. Unless you believe in what we're doing, it's going to be hard to recruit. As a former Marine, we never had that issue, right? We always meet our numbers because you can believe in what we say, right? You can believe in what we're going to do, and you can believe in and trust in our leadership. That we only have the best of the nation and Americans at our heart.
Well, exactly. Well, I think again, like all things opportune, this is an opportunity for our military, to put out a narrative and to demonstrate a narrative that these young kids can have confidence in. And, God forbid, and maybe that's the way it happens. I mean, we had a patriotic occurrence, an event that took place after our country was attacked on 9/11. Maybe that's what it'll take again. I don't know. I hate to predict and consider things like that. I think that we need to understand that patriotism is needed, that we need all hands on deck. This is a government of, for, by we the people, and that, we all should have a vested interest. I'm proud of my service in the Marine Corps, as my brothers and our father, was not in the Marine Corps, but in different aspects of the military of the military. And, and when you have that kind of experience like you've had, Colonel, you wish everybody could have that experience, right? We got 20 seconds left. I'm gonna let you wrap it up. Go ahead.
Hey, listen, thanks. It's always great to be here with you. Amazing show, amazing people, amazing audience. It's a great nation. I'm excited to celebrate the 4th of July, and I'm glad to be here with you. And I look forward to talking to you next time.
You got it, Lieutenant Colonel Eric Buer. Thank you, Eric. Take care. Godspeed, my friend.
Thanks.
This Independence Day, we honor and thank those who've served in our military. Many have made sacrifices to protect our country, including their health. Veterans are twice as likely than those who haven't served in the military to develop ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. ALS is a neurodegenerative disease that affects nerve cells in the brain and spinal cord, causing patients to lose the ability to walk, speak, and swallow on their own. Veteran Elizabeth Fassler lives with ALS and is helping to raise awareness about this incurable disease.
I was honored to serve my country, and now I serve in a different way by sharing my story of living with ALS and spreading awareness among veterans. I think it's important for people with ALS to feel connected with others, and I hope my story inspires more veterans with ALS to become part of the Share Your Story community. To hear more stories from people living with ALS and to learn more about the opportunity to share your story, visit shareyouralsstory.com/radio.
This message is sponsored by Mitsubishi Tanabe Pharma America.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right. For about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back. But you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now. 800-699-0358. 800-699-0358. 800-699-0358. That's 800-699-0358.
Okay, so you're seriously thinking about investing in gold and silver? And I don't blame you, considering our current economic condition. So the question I get asked all the time is, Bill, who can I trust? Okay, you have to know we're constantly being approached by gold investment groups, but I wanted to make sure if I was going to recommend a gold investment group to my audience, that it was someone I could trust and recommend to my own family and friends. This is why I chose the Genesis Gold Group. Their customer service and knowledge is world class. You're going to find out and see for yourself when you call Genesis Gold Group at 844-202-4252. I only trust Genesis Gold Group, and I know you will too. They're committed to getting your money back on the gold standard. So call the Genesis Gold Group today, 844-202-4252. That's 844-202-4252, or check out the website, goldwithbill.com. Welcome back, America. Bill Martinez here. Great to have you with us, sharing a part of your day. For more information on the show, you can check it out, BillMartinezShow.com. Well, the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, known as the PWFA, is a recent federal civil rights law which requires most employers with 15 or more employees to provide reasonable accommodations to their workers' known limitations related to pregnancy, childbirth, or related medical conditions, unless the accommodation will cause the employer an undue hardship. The EEOC just released new detailed regulations to implement the PWFA, including examples and a process for workers and employers to follow. The PWFA says pregnant workers can get accommodations which can be as simple as the ability to sit, drink water, receive closer parking space, have flexible hours, or receive additional break time. Accommodations could be more complicated, like taking leave to recover from childbirth, or being excused from strenuous activities, or exposure to chemicals not safe for pregnancy, but employers get a say in this process. Now, here to explain more about these new rules is Charlotte Burrows. She's the chair of the U.S. Equal Opportunity Commission. Charlotte, welcome to the show. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Well, break it down.
So the Pregnant Workers,
Go ahead.
absolutely. The Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, or PWFA, as you said so well, really provides employees and job applicants who are pregnant or recently have given birth with access to changes on the job so that they can work safely, called reasonable accommodations. So those kinds of changes can be things like taking time off for medical attention to ensure that you have a healthy pregnancy, being able to drink water, or lifting lighter loads. And the bottom line here is that pregnancy affects all of us. It's a normal part of life and work, and the law aims to make sure it's treated that way. So the PWFA was passed so that no one has to risk their job or their health just because they're pregnant, recovering from childbirth, or have a related medical condition. That's simple.
I got to tell you, Cheryl, I was surprised at looking at the numbers that roughly 56% of pregnant women work full time during pregnancy, and then 73% return to work within 6 months after giving birth. I mean, this is why, the PWFA is so important to accommodate employers as well as employees, right?
That's absolutely right. And so if you're coming back to work that early or at work, then you really need to be able to have your employer be flexible where it can do so that you can continue having that paycheck. And let's face it, a lot of times when you are about to have an addition to the family, that's exactly when it's most important to keep the ability to earn. So this law is really bringing our values closer to the way that the workplace actually is structured, and it's really already making an important difference.
Well, and what we're finding, at least in other studies, Charlotte, is that those businesses that have this accommodation and are reasonable, worker retention is a positive number. And last I checked, most employers want to maintain, good employees, right?
That's right. Nobody wants to leave talent on the table. And it's something that we often see employees really, even if they're not pregnant or don't anticipate being that way, they like the idea that they have an employer that's fair in these situations. And it has been, no pun intended, long overdue to get this statute, and we are pleased to be able to enforce it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the accommodations that we mentioned, as simple as the ability to sit, drink water, receive closer parking. I mean, these things are, they seem so commonsensical, but it really, as you say, brings to mind for the employers to be sensitive to this. And when they do offer these kind of accommodations, it seems that things flow a lot easier, right?
That's right. And it's interesting. I should say, by the way, that there are many responsible employers that were doing much of this already.
Right.
But at the same time, the reason why Congress felt this was necessary is so many employers were not. And simple things like, can I take a break to eat while I'm pregnant, or go to the bathroom more often, or have a drink of water? And that, unfortunately, was the reality. And so it is really important for the health of workers, but also for our economy, that this is now the law of the land.
Exactly. Well, under the PWFA, what do workers have to do to receive these accommodations?
So it's pretty simple. What a worker has to do is just simply let the employer know. There's no magic words that have to be used, but they just need to go to the employer and let them know. For example, they can say, I'm having trouble getting to work at my scheduled start time because of morning sickness, or I need more bathroom breaks because of pregnancy, or, and this one comes up a lot, I need time off from work to go to a medical appointment because I'm pregnant. And the employee can ask that of the supervisor or anyone else in the employer who's in, sort of a responsible role.
Right, exactly. We're talking with Charlotte Burrows, the chair of the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and talking about the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act and these regulations, how they've been evolving, which I see it, Charlotte. I see this as win-win, for the employer and the employee, because what's good for the employee is good for the employer, right?
That's right. And when the bill was coming through Congress, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce supported it, along with many, many other business and organizations, and along with the civil rights groups as well. And so that tells you right there that there really is a broad understanding of how much this benefits all of us.
You know, we're probably more of a compassionate society than we realize, huh, Charlotte?
I certainly believe that. And, you know, there's always, though, the few that are the exception, and this, I think, will make an important difference in those instances as well.
Well, some people may want to know, can employers require pregnant workers to take leave when the workers want to keep working?
Well, the short answer is leave should not be used as a reasonable accommodation, should not be required, unless it's what the employee wants and has asked for, or there's no other way to accommodate that employee's limitations. Because remember, oftentimes leave will mean you're not getting a paycheck. Some people have paid leave, others do not.
Right.
So the employer really can't force an employee to go on unpaid leave or take leave at all, unless that really is the only way to deal with whatever limitation they have due to the pregnancy, childbirth, or related medical condition.
Charlotte, what happens in a situation where an employee runs into resistance? The employer is not willing to provide an accommodation, or a covered worker or employer wants to learn more about the PWFA. Where can they go for help?
So generally, employer, and I want to be clear about this, is required to give that reasonable accommodation unless it causes the employer undue hardship, which means significant difficulty or expense. So if the employee can't get that resolution, they are able to come to our agency, the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or EEOC, for help. They can file a charge with us, and that allows us to act as an investigator to look to see if, in fact, the law has been violated. When we find that that's the case, we try to settle it, or if the employer really will not agree, we can bring that instance to court. The employee also can bring their own lawsuit if they want to. And we can, the EEOC can be reached at 1-800-669-4000. The other thing that sometimes happens is that employer can't, or, you know, doesn't believe it can afford to do whatever the employee asked for and is trying in good faith to work something out. The employer-employee in those instances can reach out to the U.S. Department of Labor's Job Accommodation Network, or JAN, which can help, and they provide free confidential accommodation assistance. I should add that coming to the EEOC is also free. You're welcome to have an attorney if you want to, but you're not required to, so that it really allows an employee who's just trying to navigate this, and also at the time dealing with whatever the medical issue is, to get some help.
Right. Well, Charlotte Barrows, thank you so much. We have to leave it there. Charlotte is the chair of the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Thank you for being with us. Take care.
President of the American Veterinary Medical Association. With blazing heat, tornadoes, hurricanes, and wildfires, how do we keep our pets safe? First, the sun. Make sure your dog has access to shade and fresh water, and consider walking your dog at cooler times of the day. Watch out for heat stress, which can include panting and drooling, and if you're concerned, call your veterinarian. As for more severe weather, such as twisters or hurricanes, have an evacuation plan mapped out in advance. Put together a pet evacuation kit with several days' food, medicine, first aid kit, and other travel supplies, including medical records. Make sure your pet has proper identification, including microchip, and contact your veterinarian if you need more specifics on how to prepare. Log on to avma.org for more valuable information on pets, summer heat, and disaster preparedness planning.
Life hack number 7. Get an iPhone 12 on Straight Talk.
Life hack.
Here's how it works. You walk into Walmart, go to the electronics section, ask for iPhone 12 with 5G and a dual camera system, and select the new Silver Unlimited plan. They'll smile because it's a good plan. You get real unlimited data all for just $20 a month for the whole first year. Get it at Walmart or StraightTalk.com. Straight Talk. Less dollars, more sense. Taxes and fees apply. Requires activation of iPhone 12 and a new Silver Unlimited plan or higher end auto pay enrollment. $25 a month service credit applied for up to 12 months if eligibility requirements are met. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com.
In a single moment, everything can change. When a player's sudden cardiac event brought a national football game to a halt, it shone a spotlight on the importance of CPR readiness. Now, with youth sports in full swing, the American Heart Association is rallying parents and coaches to be ready in an emergency. To be ready, learn hands-only CPR. It's a skill anyone can learn in minutes. Visit heart.org/hands-only-CPR and become a lifesaver today.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control of your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problem now by calling the experts at U.S. Tax Shield and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, so call now. 800-536-4436. That's 800-536-4436. U.S. Tax Shield. 800-536-4436.
Hi, everyone. Michael Horn for GetTheTea.com. Summer heat getting to you? Go to GetTheTea.com and take advantage of their first ever semi-annual sale on all of their herbal cleansing teas. Buy two, get 1 month absolutely free. Get the Tea is available in natural, peppermint, pomegranate, and senna, the added strength cleansing tea. Go to GetTheTea.com. Enter the code MikeT and receive free shipping, too. GetTheTea.com is a family-based and owned company that has been in business over 15 years. They also carry unique supplements that you won't find in stores for your immune system, your glucose levels, and vitamins, too. GetTheTea.com. It's one of the best sales of the year, so don't wait. Buy two, get one free. Go to GetTheTea, T-E-A, GetTheTea.com. Enter the code MikeT for free shipping. GetTheTea.com. Mike T is your code. Go to GetTheTea.com.
Hey, welcome back. 14 minutes before the top of the hour. Bill Martinez here. Great to have you with us. For more information on the show, you can check it out, BillMartinezLive.com. John and Jonna, hopefully I am not brutalizing your name. They didn't give me any pronunciation guide, so I'm just going to take a stab at it. Looks like Vecchione to me. Is that correct?
Perfecto.
Oh, good. I feel better. Well, thank you very much. John Vecchione is with us. He's with Landmark, I should say NCLA, and we're going to talk about the landmark victory for civil liberties, the Supreme Court overturning the Chevron deference. John, I'm so glad you could have some time to break it down and help our audience understand what a landmark victory this was for we the people.
Sure. So as I'm counsel in the Relentless case for the plaintiffs there. And there were two cases. They were combined by the court because in my case, Relentless, Justice Jackson could hear the argument, but in Loper Bright, she had heard it below in the DC Circuit before she was appointed, so she couldn't take any part in that. Okay. But the court issued the opinion in one opinion. And what it ruled was that the Chevron case from 1984 was overruled. And what that case had said is that when you, the individual, gets into a legal fight with an agency, if the law is not clear, if there's any ambiguity, or the agencies would argue even silence, they get to say what the law is, and then the courts have to defer to them in the law. So when you're fighting them, it's not an equal fight. The judge actually has to side with them on what the law is. And we have now overturned that precedent, and that is no longer the case.
John, what was going on in the Supreme Court in 1984 that came up with this decision to begin with? Because on its face, I mean, it just seems, common sense. And for 40 years, American businesses have had to put up with this.
So what I believe is happening, the court is delayed a little bit in catching up with the society a lot of the time. And there had been an enormous amount of pro-administrative state rulings from the 30s all the way through the 70s. And during that period, this is my own personal view. The agencies and the experts put a man on the moon, won the World War II, created the GI Bill and got all these people into college. It was seen as successful, is what I think happened. And there was the constitutionalists were fighting a rear guard action at that time. Then when the Reagan administration came in and put in, what happened in that case was there was the question of what's a point source? Is it every smokestack or is it the whole plant? And they made a rule that would make it easier for corporations to make their whole plant compliant, but not each individual smokestack, so that they wouldn't be creating any more pollution than they were, but they wouldn't have to micromanage the smokestacks, basically. So the court, including Scalia, thought, and by the way, it was very diminishing because so many people, I think, had interest in Chevron. There were only like 5 justices, I think, who made the decision. It wasn't a 9-justice court, maybe 6. So in any event, they decided that at least the agencies, if the agencies made that decision, at least the president's responsible. And if the president, that's as good as you're going to get, because otherwise judges are making the decision. And they thought it would be anti-democratic to do it that way. But what they found over the 40 years was the agencies just didn't use their expertise. It wasn't like the Nuclear Regulatory Committee saying, this is the dangerous level of radiation and here's why. It was like, my guys, my fishermen, Congress won't pay for the amount of observers we put on your boats, so we're going to have you pay. That's not expertise. That's just money grabbing. So that's why this was a good case to overturn it.
Exactly. Well, and this is great. I mean, for you to give us the background and the history of this, and of course, it's quite telling to see the response. And here we are again, having this divided opinion, which I think is healthy in America. I don't have a problem with it. But what I do have a problem with is just because, you don't get your way, as the Democrats are fond of saying, they wet the bed and then they want to, stack the court and, blow up everything,
Yeah, I've been on shows about court packing as well. And you can always tell if somebody is serious about adding seats to the court is if they'll stagger it over 4-year periods, so their guy doesn't get all the appointments. And as soon as you see they're not doing that, it's a fixed game. Because if you really thought it was a good policy and you put in all the reasons for the policy, you would then set it up so that one president didn't get all those appointments, because you really aren't caring about, you think the size is bigger is better. It's not a power grab. So always look, if someone says they want to add more people to the court, see how they're going to do it.
Right. Well, and when you look at, this court, when the conservatives came in, I think overall you look at it and you say, well, the decisions seem to be pretty balanced. I mean, there was a lot of 9-0 decisions, some 6-3, which a lot of people had projected. But I think overall, John, what do you feel? Do you feel like the court has been mostly fair?
Well, if you look at what they call the J6 case, which is Fleischman, right?
Right.
Jackson sided with all the conservatives, and
Amy
Coney Barrett sided with Kagan and Sotomayor, and that was the 6-3. So all of them do have, Jackson will, particularly on criminal matters, want to give people a fair shake more often. So I think that's it, and she's always looking at the process and the words, and so I do think that that's overblown. But the other aspect of this is, I've been doing this for a long time, and every June, at end of June in my life, there were always disappointing things for the conservative side, right? You're always sitting there, and then there'd be some terrible decision when you thought you were going to really move the law into a more constitutional direction. And we were always flummoxed. Lucy pulled the football away for basically 35 years. And now Lucy's not pulling the football away. And the other side, no, pull the football away or it's not fair.
Right. Exactly. It's just, I guess, another reason just to clutch your pearls, I guess, but again, I think overall, I think they did fairly well. What I get concerned about, John, I know you probably as well, is the way the Justice Department has allowed, justices' homes to be, to be attacked and to be points of, protest. And of course, we had the one situation with Justice Kavanaugh, which could have been extremely dangerous and fatal. This stuff is unacceptable, and they've got to protect our justices in such a way to where they're not attacked. And I think rhetoric that Leader Schumer used on the court of the on the steps of the Supreme Court was unacceptable. All in the name of politics. I'm getting increasingly concerned at the vitriol and the words that are being poured out there, because it's dumped into the body politic, and it just adds to this this divide that we have in the country. And you just it's a divide mostly based on emotion, not necessarily on reason. And we've got to get beyond this. Because I think that in this process of being divided, we're missing out on the value of the other side. And I say this on both sides because the beauty of our Constitution is that it promotes reasoning, it promotes compromise, to where when we do this, we're most effective. And that light, I believe, that light on a shining hill burns brighter when we do that.
I will say something because the follow-up wasn't there. After Schumer said that, we're going to get you, Kavanaugh, we're going to get you, he actually apologized. He said, I went a little too far there. But his follow-up statements weren't broadcast as much by the press. And the other thing is, we had a case at New Civil Liberties Alliance called Cargill about whether bump stocks could be banned by the ATF or not.
Right.
And when that came out, instead of attacking the court, which he did, he said, I don't like the decision, but he said, look, I told you at the time we need to amend the law and you didn't listen to me. So at least there, he kept a cool head. There is some of that going on, but you're right. I live in Northern Virginia, and it was very concerning that because it's not just attack. If someone's outside your house, 20 or 30 people chanting for 24 hours a day, that's harassment. That's not hate speech. And so I do think that it should be addressed. I agree with everything you just said, but I did want to toss that in about Schumer because he's not as bad as that one video.
Well, I'm glad you did, because I got to tell you, John, it's the first time I've heard that. I was not aware of an apology. So, kudos for him for doing that. But I think that, again, that's one of those underreported and I think important things that should be noted. So thanks for bringing that out. We got about a little over a minute left here, John. I did want to address, this J6 decision, the impact it will have. I mean, we've got patriots that have been in jail for years now, and this is untenable. I mean, we've got to resolve this issue, I think, with a sense of expediency. What do you think?
Well, I wasn't on that case. And I have to say, I have not gotten through it yet. But I do think if Gorsuch is there, it's the court has shown over the last really 10 years that they don't like overcharging or using a statute for something that Congress didn't intend it for. So I don't know what everyone did. Some of the cases, it looks to me like they hit cops and did stuff like that, but then some of them, they're much lesser. And so all of that has to be taken into account. And here what they're saying is, don't use a statute that nobody could have known beforehand. This is what it was for. And I think that's good for liberty.
No, I think so too. And but I feel for these patriots in some cases. I mean, you got grandparents, they're sitting in jail, and they just followed the advice of Capitol Police that said, come on in. Well, I mean, but we'll have to allow that to be processed and litigated appropriately, but hopefully sooner than later. John Vecchione, thank you so much. Take care.
BBS Radio TV. Our shows are so captivating, you'll binge watch until your couch demands a family discount and your remote tries to friend you on Facebook. Don't skimp on the popcorn. Lather on that butter like it's going out of style.
BBS Radio TV, live worldwide radio and web TV productions. A place for answers. We do talk shows so well, they might just talk back.
BBS Radio TV, from metaphysical politics to 9D chess. Our shows are so mind-bending, they make ordinary candy look like broccoli.
BBS Radio TV, free, unmolested content from A to Z. We don't limit the content, and we won't limit your opinions. You get to decide what's right, what you like, and then live with it. How do you like them apples?
If you're 65 or older and Medicare is your main source of insurance, pay close attention right now and listen for details on how you may save thousands of dollars on your health care costs. Did you know that Medicare can pay for things like dental visits, home delivery of drugs, even a gym membership? Call us right now and learn how to unlock all your Medicare benefits. Medicare and supplemental plans that we provide can even offer you drug coverage with zero copays and pay for transportation to your doctors. Medicare plans can offer you wonderful money-saving benefits, but you've got to call now. We'll help you get the most out of your Medicare. Make this free, no-obligation call now. Save a ton of money on your health care costs and get the code to unlock all your earned Medicare benefits. Paid for by Senior Choice Plans. 800-796-3954. 800-796-3954. That's 800-796-3954.
BBS Radio TV. If it's not mainstream, it's on BBS Radio TV. A place for answers.